Hi, this is Military Modeller Paul with an update on my Churchill Mark IV, the AVRE, the Royal Engineers tank used in D-Day and onwards, and some of the vehicles were actually, the flamethrowers were definitely used in the Korean War as well later on. Anyway, so this is it, and basically as you can see, she's got a paint scheme. I've actually applied the decals as well, and I'll explain that in a minute. The turret is just sitting on top, so that's why it looks a bit wobbly. I didn't actually push it back in, so I've got some detail painting now, obviously. But what I used is basically Tamiya paints for this, and I used self-leveling thinners, which is not a Tamiya self-leveling thinner, it's Mr. Model, I think it's called. I'll put that up in afterwards. But anyway, what I used is, for the actual base cut, to get this pre-shading done, I actually, as you know, I actually sprayed it with the Tamiya spray can to get the grey primer in, and then I went in with this black green, and I'll put there he is, black green, this one. And what I did there is I actually went round with an airbrush, and I thinned it quite well. I delivered it. It was paint was 2/3 paint to 1/3 thinners, and it gave me plenty of time to spray. And I sprayed thinly all the panel lines along over each bar, everywhere I've put around the edges to give you see that pre-shade you can see there. And I did that everywhere, including underneath on the wheels and around the front as well. So that's what I did. And then once I've done that, then I come in with the Tamiya Olive Drab cover. And again, this was very heavily diluted, and basically I went through and done a light overspray over everything with this particular colour, and again this time it was still the same, so it's two parts paint to 1 part thinner, and that worked really well. So I went over that and let it dry, and then I came back in with, and I made a mixture of the not like the ones. Yes, it was. Yeah, the Olive Drab, and I also come in and I mixed it with yellow green XF4. And what I did then is this is where I made the very thin. I actually mixed the two paints, so 2 parts. I think it was about 2 parts for the Olive Drab and then yellow, and I mixed it till I got the sort of pre-shade I wanted. And that's what you do, it's just by eyesight, so that's why I can't remember the exact zone. I just mixed it till I got what I wanted, and then I actually put a hell of a lot of thinners. It must be 50% thinners on top of that mixture into it, that was self-leveling thinner. And then I went sprayed around it. Now this paint is very thin. The good thing is it lays on thin, so when I touch this, it's a smooth coat. And doing that, and I actually sprayed, and it took a while to go around and do all the pre-shading, but I'm really pleased with it. Let's put that turret a bit more up, because it does look a bit better when it's on. Oh, that's it. Pre-shaded, but doing this sort of shading all around in the middle of the panels, in between all the ribs on the actual mudguards, as I call them, or fenders as some other people call them, and I'm really pleased with how it come out. And I'm just going to quite early work. See, you can see the decals are on there. I'll explain what I did there. You can see now the actual periscopes are completely built up. I don't know if you can see that there. They still move. I mean, they still got their masking tape over the clear parts, same on the turret, and that's okay. That can go right at the end. So there you go, decals on the side. And notice I called it Loch Ness and all, because basically there's a monster in Loch Ness, so they say, and this vehicle coming up against a structure or a pillbox would be a monster to the people inside of it. So that's the reason for that. And also the fact is, I just like the idea of Loch Ness being the vehicle in question. There was another one I was going for, then I found out that it wouldn't have been quite right, because I've got the snake version of this, and I can't remember the name of it now. It's got a particular name, but that would have been on one of these tanks. The name on that would have technically been on one of these versions of the tank, so that's why I thought myself I'll go with Loch Ness anyway. So that's good. And there you go. So if I come around the back, you'll see what I mean. I've got a decal on the back. There you go. And there's a bit of it blows off anyway, but there you go. So it's looking quite nice. I'm quite pleased with it. And now we've got coming up to the varnishing stage again, because although I've got the decals on, and they've got a slight shine to the decals, which is what you normally get, but the point is it's not too bad. And I put them on now. The actual, I didn't just put them over the paint, I actually put the varnish on, and I used the Tamiya varnishes. I'm sorry I made a bit of a pig's ear of this, but this is a clear, and then we know that's a gloss. X22 is a gloss, so basically that's no good. And of course you can't get semi-gloss in Tamiya, but what I did is I used a mixture of their, whoops, sorry about that, a mixture of this one, which is their matting agent. It's called Flat Base, and that's what it is. It's thick, but I've got a little ball in there to keep it going, the ball bearing, and basically mixes it. And then I use my battery spinner to do it. Now what I did with that, I put two parts of the actual gloss, and then put about one piece of matting agent in there, and that gave me my semi-gloss. You can just see a slight sheen on it, and that worked out really well. So what I've got to do now, because I haven't got any more of that left, I've got to remix that and go around where the decals are. The turret one went on really well. Now what I did with the turret one is actually I didn't use the whole decal. I've got a very sharp scalpel blade and cut out where you can see the green on between the inside the actual decal for star. There's no decal there. I went very carefully around and cut those triangles out. That actually gave me a much better, it was an awkward decal to put on, but it still gave me a much better painted on look effect, which you might just be able to see. And it's not shiny, that one, for some reason. I don't know why, but that's life. But anyway, so the good thing is the decals are on, and I can get stuck into some weathering. Once I've done my next my next matte semi-gloss, I'm going to use slightly semi-gloss again. So I'm going to put the gloss in there and do the same mix to get another coat, and I should just blow around the coat everywhere over the decals. They don't look too glossy, but they are. If you get the light in the right angle, it does actually work. So there you go. So that really is my update on my Churchill, and as I said, it's coming on very nice. And I'm using Tamiya paints on this, as I said, on everything now. But once we get into the weathering, I'll be going into oils and some bits and pieces. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Happy modelling.